It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to our second segment. I'm with Dr. Barb Provost. We're talking about all the ideas of being a facilitator, which is kind of changing my thinking as being a salesperson. Let's walk down some of the techniques, some of the tactical issues that you have cited. And I look at this list, a pretty nice list. Walk me through the basic idea of what you're trying to get across, especially when we're talking one-on-one with women.
Okay, so when you're talking about facilitating a conversation with a woman, and we've talked a lot about teaching, educating, giving them the information they need to make a good decision about their financial future. So you are indeed a facilitator. You're facilitating, conveying some good information. So how do you do that so that she doesn't feel overwhelmed by it? Again, respect is everything. So it's creating that atmosphere of comfort that she feels comfortable in asking questions and giving her time to ask questions. But when you're providing complex information, what you'll want to do is chunk it into smaller pieces of information and check in. Let's first talk about annuities. Do you know what an annuity is? Or let me explain to you what an annuity is and how it works. Go through that piece. What questions do you have about that? Can you, check in and validate that she's following you and understanding you, and then maybe giving her another little chunk.
Or maybe why even I'm bringing it up.
Exactly.
Why am I even introducing it?
Yeah, sure. Why are you introducing it? So if you can create, when you're learning how to teach people in conversation, if you can create patterns of chunks of information, smaller pieces that people can nibble on and understand, and okay, I got that piece, now let's move on and understand. That's a really good way of not giving a cognitive load. That means way too much information that you're expecting someone to take in and kind of absorb and understand. And oftentimes if you overwhelm someone in that kind of dialogue, they're not going to go, I don't understand what you're saying. They're just going to kind of back off it and not want to be a part of the conversation.
I'm looking at some of one of the notes you say, and it just catches my eye. It talks about how women as clients, and it says they should outplan men due to their unique risks, but they don't.
They don't.
What's with that?
Well, and the data will show, and we've talked about this before, that women would walk away from their financial advisor if anything were to happen to the husband. And a lot of that is because they have not taken the time to learn about financial planning. They're overwhelmed by it. Again, they're keeping their eye on the daily operations of their household and their daily budget and their weekly budget. They're not thinking always long term. It's a complicated system. It can be very overwhelming. They kind of want someone just to take care of it for them, but they are not going to make good, sound financial decisions for themselves unless they understand what they need to do for their unique situation.
Well, now, most of the time, and I've heard you talk about this, women have lower financial confidence levels.
Absolutely.
So if I'm going to speak, I don't want to run, the tendency of a driver, a motive advisor, is to run over their client. They don't mean to, but I think they do. If we're pulling back and we're not in the sales process, but we're engagement, like we're talking about this whole show, how can I bring that level of confidence to talk about it so that she can have an educational experience as well, that she's actually gaining information so she can make a good decision?
Well, again, it's how you frame the conversation. So, of course, this is, we're assuming that you're at a point where you've built already some good atmosphere, where you're having some conversation, you've built some trust, you've learned a little bit about each other, you've learned a little bit about her financial needs, what she wants. All of this information is set the foundation. Now you're at a part where you're going to say, well, let me propose to you some options that we can talk about. And at that point is where you're going to start educating her on what these options are. It's always a good point to wait for her to ask some questions of you. Like, well, now tell me more about this product. Why this product? See what questions she starts asking of you to see where should I start in this conversation in terms of where she's at, and if she's already bought into this methodology of going down this road for this type of product, and then how can I provide the information she needs to make a good decision.
In the decision-making process, and I hope to get to this sometime this week, We're going to talk about how actually women actually purchase products, and maybe, and we'll get into that. That'll be a whole revelation for most of us. I'm looking at this issue of most of us that are skilled, been around a long time, or maybe even have my disease where I'm much more of a type A driver motive. I can't listen. It's hard to pull myself back in the mix and listen to her really talk through so she can tell me what she really wants to tell me. Do you think we're getting on the first pass? I don't know if I'm getting what she really wants to say yet. She's still walking through these ideas. So how do I do that? How do I actually practice this? Listen.
Well, that's a great question, and we've talked about this before, because you never really take listening 101 or anything like that in school. Listening is really a skill that needs to be practice, practice, practice. And listening has some very defined abilities, and it's looking at someone in the eye, it's pausing, it's being able to just be quiet and honoring kind of that quiet space so that the woman can think through her thoughts and what she wants to say next and collect her thoughts. It's about being attentive to what she's saying and writing it down, not breaking that conversation, but when she's done speaking, asking her, can I convey back to you what I think I heard, to make sure I'm validating what your needs are. So it is a process that does need to be practiced, and it's very, very important.
Before we leave the show today, Barb, I noticed that women, contrary to my thinking, to be honest with you, I didn't go there, they like content, real content. Touch, feel, practical, pragmatic content. And I think sometimes we decide, oh, well, we need to be conceptual. But I also have to have real content behind it. I just can't keep talking in the idyllic all the time. I have to actually bring some concrete content. Give me a little bit of that before we leave the show.
So you're right. I mean, people start up here with the information, but what's the practicality of that? What is it that you are actually selling me, and how does that work, and how does it benefit me and my needs? That's what you need to be able to convey to her.
Tomorrow we're going to talk about so many other additional issues. That's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, your legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Go out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.